This video shows how to rebuild a Holley single-barrel carburetor model 847 7HT. This model carburetor was used on Ford 6-cylinder flathead engines from 1941 to 1951. The model 847 also included numbers 7HA, 8HA, 5GA, and R537. This carburetor is on a 1950 Ford 8N tractor that was converted with a Funk conversion. The original 28 horsepower engine was replaced with a Ford 95 horsepower 6-cylinder flathead. Holley Carburetor made a nice pamphlet describing how the Model 847 works. Good explanations and diagrams of the power pump, accelerator pump, and Venturi system. You can find them on eBay. You will need a rebuild kit. They include necessary gaskets, main needle valve, accelerator pump and pump needle, and there's a nice diagram included. I've purchased them on eBay from Mike's Carburetor Parts and Shoebox Central. All have been good to deal with. An internet search may find other spots. A hardware kit is available from Mike's Carburetors and can be useful. It has new screws, clips, and a spring for the accelerator pump. When working on the carb, it's useful to think of the three main parts. Red points out the top piece, which has the choke. Green is the middle and has the float, Venturi, and accelerator pump and associated valves. Yellow is the throttle body. Blue is the various external linkages. To clean, I soak the large parts in carburetor cleaner like this gallon from Gunk, and smaller parts by hand. A Dremel tool with a wire wheel works nicely to clean rust and corrosion. To begin disassembly, remove the external linkages, then the 2 screws holding the throttle body and 6 screws holding the upper and middle pieces together. You'll find that 6th screw under the choke lever going in the opposite direction. Here is initial disassembly of the 3 parts. The top with the choke, float, main needle valve, and power piston. The middle with the main jet, Venturi system, check valves, and accelerator pump. And the bottom is the throttle body. To the side are the linkages from the choke to the throttle and the link from the throttle to the accelerator pump. Rather than going through each step of disassembly and reassembly, we'll just talk about the different parts. Start the upper part by removing the float and needle valve. There will be a new needle valve in the rebuild kit. The blue arrow is the needle valve and the red arrow is the power pump. To remove the power pump, look at the shoulder. Sometimes this has been mushroomed with a punch and will need to be ground flush with a Dremel tool. Grab the shaft with the pliers and pull. Some force may be needed. When reinstalling the float, check the adjustment so there's 3/16 of an inch between the float and casting. There are 2 screws holding the choke plate to the shaft. They may have been replaced by rivets in a previous rebuild. The ends of the screws are often mushroomed and will need to be ground flush with a Dremel. When the screws are removed, you can take out the choke plate and shaft. When removing the shaft, note how the spring is installed. When putting it back together, use some Loctite on the screws. Now we can move to the middle part. Here's an overview. The red arrow is the main jet. The blue arrow is the power valve, the valve that is activated by the power pump. Circled in green is the accelerator pump, spring, and clip. A new pump is in the rebuild kit and a spring in the hardware kit. The accelerator pump is linked externally to the throttle lever. Circled in yellow is the check ball and clip, and the yellow arrow shows the location. Circled in pink is the needle valve and retainer clip. The turquoise arrows point to the retaining screws for the Venturi system. Sometimes removing the main jet is difficult. An impact screwdriver works on most. Another trick is to heat the casting by boiling in water. If you need to replace the main jet, they are available at most auto parts stores or from Holley. The flow rate will be stamped on the side. This was a 64. There are 2 retainer clips to pay attention to. The pink arrow shows the small clip that holds the needle valve for the accelerator pump. The yellow arrow shows the top of the accelerator pump. You'll see a retainer clip for the check ball when the pump is removed. There will be a new needle valve in the rebuild kit. Reuse the original clip. This shows the check ball and retainer clip in the bottom of the accelerator pump well. If you have trouble removing the ball, leave it in during the initial soak. A sharp pick and wrap may help dislodge it. There will be a new check ball in the rebuild kit. Reuse the original clip. Now you can install the accelerator pump. A new pump is in the rebuild kit. You can use the original spring or a new one which is in the hardware kit. Use the original arm and square spring retainer. The Venturi system is held in place by 2 screws and oblong hold downs. Here are the parts. The red arrow is the nozzle bar, the yellow is the nozzle plug, the green arrow is the idle tube, turquoise arrows are gaskets. There are new ones in the rebuild kit. The pink arrow points to a small screen. It has been discarded in some rebuilds. Next, the throttle body. Remove the 2 screws holding the throttle plate to the shaft and the nut on the end of the shaft, red arrows. The idle screw and spring, green arrow, is taken out. Here is a throttle plate where the screws were replaced by rivets. You can Dremel the ends flush and then remove. Reassemble the throttle body with the plate, shaft, and idle screw. With gaskets from the rebuild kit, reassemble the top 2 pieces and then the throttle body. Reattach the link between the throttle and the accelerator pump. There's a clip in the rebuild kit. And then the link between the choke and throttle. If you have a hardware kit, there are new clips, blue arrows. The choke lever is attached with a screw, red arrow. The tractor starts right up and runs well with this new